Welcome, one and all. We are back with episode 99.
Is this 99?
It is 90 freaking 9.
Oh my gosh. I am your almost 100% hype, Ricky. If you had to put a number on it, it's 99% hype.
And I am the other Professor Ethan.
Yeah, I literally just got back off a flight 2 hours ago from time of recording. Went and saw my brother up in the Northeast. It was a very, very fun trip. Went and saw one of the highlights. We went and saw this kind of uppity art place called Wonder Spaces. It's like tech art pieces, but it's very fucking up its own ass high art. I mean, it's cool to look at, but you can tell that if the artists were there, they like thought that their piece was God's gift to the world. And I'm like, no, a bunch of hanging lights from the ceiling is like a basic girl's room aesthetic, not a high art piece. Cool to look at for 5 minutes, but
so this is gonna be, probably surprising to all of you, but I do actually enjoy art museums a lot.
I knew this about you.
And I went to the Modern Art Museum in Minneapolis, right?
Oh yeah.
There was one exhibit was, I swear to God, a pile of boxes. And I'm like, modern art or trash, trash that didn't get taken out on time.
Right. They just put they put red rope around it and a plaque and just like art. And you can tell, like, I respect artists. I respect their like, I guess their work and their vision and stuff. But it's shit like that they sat in their apartment and for like months. For months. And then they're like, I got it. Go to Home Depot.
Get one nail.
Yeah, one nail.
One nail on a whiteboard and put it in the middle, which was another exhibit, by the way.
You're fucking with me.
Swear to God.
Yeah, I just
nail
imagine.
on white.
Yeah,
okay.
I just imagine them sprawling out on the floor 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. Just, I got it. I got it. And they go to Home Depot, get 3 medium boxes and stack them. And then they're just like, oh, this is it. My magnum opus.
And then for some reason, the freaking Modern Art Museum calls them up. We need this now.
Right. There's another one at that Wonder Spaces place that was, those thank you for shopping white and red bags?
Yeah.
Someone made like a 20-foot one.
Oh.
Art.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous art. And it's literally just called bags. I'm like, really? They got a spot here in dead center stage in Wonder Spaces?
Yeah, man.
And I'm wondering how they fill that space up because it's just
crazy because you go to these museums and there's like a lot of like genuinely great art and like really cool things.
Yeah.
And then you come across these kinds of exhibits and you're like, what the fuck are we looking at?
The other one cool piece that was fun where it's just this big wall of like rolled up papers, and if it's white, you can pull it out and the other side is red. You write what you want, then put it back in the red side. And you can pull out other people's and read them. And the first one I pulled that was red that someone else had written on in really scratchy writing, I'm tripping nutsack right now. I'm like, yeah, okay.
He said, yeah, buddy.
This is perfect. Put that back in for someone else to read. Art's a weird one, man. But the show we're talking about today, many consider quite a piece of art.
And I do.
You do as well. I do. I'm trying to, in my head, elevate it to everyone's. Now that I've given it a little bit more of a critical eye, it is a fantastically solid show. What are we talking about today?
Today, whoa, that was weird.
Yeah.
The day
of the now.
We are talking about Durarara.
Durarara. Yes. This show, it came out, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking it up because I don't want to get the date wrong again.
Get yelled at in our Discord.
A 2010 anime by Brainsbase.
Yeah.
Who's done a couple shows that we've talked about in the past, I believe. Yes. Let's get some Bakano, which we actually want to put on the list of stuff. Spice and Wolf.
Id Inspector.
Oh yeah, Inspector. Yeah. So
Your Inspector.
They Blood Lad. They have some really cool showings out here. And they're all over the place in terms of
like
genres. Yeah. So I don't know. First impressions of this show, it's wonderfully intricate, like in a way that isn't 100% confusing, right?
So it's like, I really think this show is like very, very, I don't want to say high art because that just sounds so pretentious every time, but it's just like it's so intricate, honestly.
Yeah, and there are a lot of shows that will throw a bunch of shit at the wall, and from like a lore and narrative perspective, you've introduced a bunch of things, but we notice with the shows that we review, if a show does something like that and it feels off, it's probably because they had too many things they brought up and couldn't close the loops, right? This show had that entire webbing mapped from the fucking rip. Like, they knew everything that was going to happen.
Yeah, I'm glad you said webbing because, like, for the first, I would say 12 episodes, this is a 24 episode season.
Yeah.
And there's Durarara X2 is like the sequel follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt like a web, right? You're seeing all this stuff from a different angle.
Yes.
Like, there was a couple occasions where you'd see an event from multiple different perspectives.
Or even something so simple as, like, I remember in the first couple of episodes, was it Makoto and Kita were walking up some steps, and then you saw Senji and Enri in their own little confrontation, and that's when Enri joins their piece, right? And then Senji leaves. So, but you could just see someone walk by like, hey, get back here. And you don't get to see the context for that until 3 episodes down the line. But it felt very meticulously drawn out. Nothing felt wasteful, right?
And the great part about it is it was intentionally so.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it was very, very intentional the way they did the entire show. Because the character who's basically pulling the strings is literally forcing all this to happen throughout the show.
So fucking brilliant.
And I'm not gonna spoil anything just yet. I mean, we're literally like 6 minutes in.
We got to keep it fresh and light. Yeah.
But it's just, I think it truly is a masterclass in making a show insanely complicated, because it really is complicated, but still have like a fun, cohesive, like overall story. And there is a sequel like we talked about, but even this one felt like fairly solid, like just an ending.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like you could have just not had season 2 and been okay with it.
I felt that the ending to season 1 was very, like, kind of almost tranquil, resolute.
Yes.
Like, you weren't seeing maybe the last thing, but we've talked in the show before about Eastern or Japanese storytelling. There doesn't always have to be a neat bow. It's about the journey thereafter could be the ending, right? This person is now going away and doing something, and we never may know what that is.
Yes. So the way I think about this show is I think of it as a supernatural slice of life.
Yes, 100%.
Because it's like, it's so mundane and normal while having just like these random flashes of like insane things going on. And there's this phrase that they continually repeat. It's like, everything changed, but nothing really changed at all, or something,
Yeah. And that,
I'm not getting that exactly right, but essentially.
That's how it started, is that, like, it was the strangest, most rare thing that could possibly happen to anyone, but at the same time, it didn't feel special at all.
Right.
Right. So the show was about kind of knowing that we're going to end up kind of right back here in a way. I think what they did...
But it's like beautiful.
It's beautiful. Like, what they did by weighing down all this webbing, both from narratives and characters and stuff, and keeping all of that shit straight all the time, did 2 things. For me, at least. One, the world felt so lived in.
Right.
Like, it felt alive and breathing. Like, you didn't feel like it was a backdrop to what you were watching. And a lot of other shows, like, you're following the main character because of his one special story or her one special narrative. This show felt like it had all the narratives all the time, and you could run into them at any point, right? That made the world feel alive. And second, when you bottle chaos, it's a really fine line between they didn't know what the fuck they're doing and they knew exactly what they were doing. And they managed to bottle that chaos in a smart way where you didn't feel like, what the fuck is even happening right now? You're like, oh, this is the thing I saw, or this is the thing they talked about. It all had a thread and nothing was disconnected. I don't know. I'm floored at how they managed to keep all that shit straight.
Right. And it's just like, I'm like genuinely pretty speechless about the show, because it's just like, obviously I've watched this a few times in the past and stuff, but I rewatched it obviously with a critical eye this time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, Jesus, they really did just like knock it out of the park with this thing. But what I always loved about the show the most, like, really it is the slice of life feeling, but it's like this built up tension through the music throughout the entire like the musical score
soundtrack
is legitimately the best I think of any show.
Because you notice how they pop between like the true slice of life, almost xylophony to like this awesome heavier jazz kind of chase music that reminisced of like a Great Pretender, even a Cowboy Bebop.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, right. In a newer sense, like the Great Pretender had such a vibe. But this even harkened back further to what it felt like to me, like a Cowboy Bebop. Everything was intense, but everything felt, with the music at least, you felt like it never rushed itself. Like it didn't start playing the jazz too early, so oh shit, something's going down.
Right.
It always came in right when everything had to.
But like the city feels so vibrant and huge, but we're just like basically voyeurs looking at certain aspects of certain people's lives.
Right. And how big is Ikebukuro or
Ikebukuro is like a large Tokyo suburb.
Okay. Because I had no frame of reference. I know it was like part of the Tokyo greater area, but I didn't know how big it encompassed. So like, because that was my question, right? How big is this city or this perimeter?
It's basically Tokyo.
Right. Okay. Well then shit. Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of room to work with.
Well, because they talk about Shinjuku a couple times, which is where Izaya's like headquarters is. That's another portion of Tokyo.
Gotcha. Okay. Makes sense.
But yeah, so you got this kid Mikado Ryogamine.
Yep.
Who just moves to Tokyo to go to high school with
Man,
his
your
best
name
friend.
sounds like a manga MC piece of shit. And he goes to move to I'm going to get that wrong every time. Ikebukuro or whatever it is.
Ikebukuro.
Ikebukuro. Yeah. I don't know why. I feel like there's an extra syllable in there I'm missing. And anyway.
And why? Because
yeah, that's probably it. I'm adding and removing syllables left and right with this show. Yeah, he goes there for a change of pace, right? He's always been in like kind of like the podunk part of Japan, like rural, and he wants to, and he didn't just go to live near Kita, right? He did so just kind of happenstance.
Well, so he was, Kita, Masaomi had lived in his area and moved away like 5 years prior.
Right.
But they were still best friends. So he convinced him to come move to Ikebukuro.
That's cool.
And go to high school. But they're both seeking something, right? Like, Mikado's looking for like a spark or like something to make his life, I guess,
better.
Different.
Yeah. It's not necessarily better. It's just like,
right.
I wanted something that felt not the ordinary.
And
right.
Masaomi feels like he's by himself completely because of all the stuff that happens with him in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just wants, to hold on to somebody. And like this show really is like, I think one of the most interesting introspections on like humanity and like the human condition that exists. Because you not only is there like really interesting psychologies and interactions between all the characters, but you have Izaya just saying like, I love humans. They're there for me to like play with. And,
right.
He has multiple monologues about when somebody does something that he doesn't expect, like how much more fun that is for him. And
I think he set the backdrop up really well because while he almost kind of like us fancies himself a voyeur into like the human condition,
right?
We do have a lot of people who like the first time we meet them, their philosophy is laid bare, right? Shizo is a good example. I hate violence, but he's a guy who obviously resorts to it, and you kind of see his backstory, and his philosophy laid bare is like, I just can't control myself. I hate the way that I am, but I'm also the best at being this, right? And what's her face? Naime, the long-haired kind of older chick that is Senji's sister.
Oh, Namie Yagiri.
Yeah, Namie's basically, again, first time I meet her, my love is a different kind of love, laid bare, right? So we're seeing this showcasing of the interactions of a bunch of human philosophies, and I like that the show, it's weird, they are so cut and dry about giving you what a character's about, but that's not what they're there for. It's the webbing. It's the help thicken the webbing. So they knew what they had. Here's your characters. Here's how they think. Let them loose. And they did it in a very creative way in that regard. So,
well, Well, because you had mentioned before we started recording, like, it's hard to remember all these guys' names because there's like 25 main characters,
And like
essentially.
the true core is huge.
Right.
Like, this is not a show. And there's some shows we say it's a popcorn anime. Shut your brain off, grab a snack, grab a beer, whatever. Just have a good time with this one. This one, you need to sit and watch. Like, in my opinion, I don't know if you can mindlessly go through this one.
I think you can, but it would be like an affront to God himself.
Oh,
no, I just think you would miss out on a lot of the, like,
yeah.
They'll like hand out their or hold out their hand, and then you'd be missing the other hand grabbing them, or you'd miss like
an attempt
somebody in the crowd who
you see four episodes later why they were there.
Yes, right. Like you miss all the like kind of little like nods and like Easter eggs throughout the show, and I think obviously you can watch this and just have fun because it is just a wild ass ride.
It is. I almost think that it definitely feels very first half, second half. Like kind of because there's that time skip in the middle and you get a whole new, but the thing is that whole quote unquote new storyline for the second half, they set up perfectly in the first.
Right.
Everything is there. So, I mean, that's why can you shut your brain off and watch it? Sure. But I demand of you as your professor.
I implore you to reconsider.
Please, because this show has a direct correlation, in my opinion, to your commitment to attention and
to your
detail.
IQ. If you have a low IQ, you won't like the show.
One wrinkle equals one like. Like the more wrinkles, the more likes you'll have. But no, it really is. It's a show that rewards you for watching it closely, intimately, and kind of keeping track, because the show does the work to keep track. And if you can keep up with the show in all its respects, chef's kiss. You walk away a happy, smarter student, I think. You just be a smarter person.
I think, I mean, why not?
You'll grow wrinkles on the day. Like
there'll be wrinkles growing on your wrinkles by the end of this show.
Holy shit.
The title of this episode, Durarara will make you smarter.
Durarara will make you smarter.
Or it will steal your girl. I'm not sure which one we're going with yet.
Well, if it's Keto, he's not stealing shit. So Kita's funny, man. He's like this ladies man, or like an aspiring ladies man, but even it's definitely got a vibrato when he comes to women. But he does say at some point that when Mikado came around, this false vibrato that I have is becoming real. He's helping me, kind of what you were saying. Like, he's been so alone for so long that was his defense mechanism, but now it's becoming actually part of him in a better way. So
I don't know. I think, like, to me, it's most of these characters are trying to figure out their place in the world, right?
Yeah.
Like, of course, Celty does.
Yes, right.
Of course, Masaomi and Ryugamine both are struggling to figure out what they're doing. Henri as well, right? She starts off as this character with no direction, no idea of what she's there for, right?
Yeah.
And trying to figure out where to go. Even Shinra, he's probably the only guy that has like an idea of what he wants, which is Celty.
Yeah.
But, he's just kind of like,
about it.
You're right. He's just like kind of this, I don't know. It's just like the show has so many characters that are just like so deeply like after something.
Shinra,
and then so many that have no idea what they're doing.
Right. And I think it's those that are deeply after something. There's a common thread of maybe that deep desire for something is correct, but that something shifts, or the way they go about getting it shifts. And it's only through the interaction of other people that never would have in the first place is when you see the shifting occurs. People change each other in this show very heavily. Now, Shinra, I really liked his character for a couple reasons. My favorite is he's like an underground doctor. He's a guy who is very skilled at medicine that will kind of help you out with the unsavory stuff you maybe not want the cops and the ambulance and the hospitals to know about. But he seems to like flip a switch. Like, he's this happy-go-lucky, seemingly very emotionally in tune dude. And then the second he gets a call, he just shuts it down. Fucking work mode, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I found his character interesting because all of his desires were very kind of disjointed from his actual work. So I always wondered why exactly he went route of underground doctor. He kind of fell into it, but they don't really do a lot.
His dad just crackhead, to be honest, and
Yeah,
really
right.
fucked him up.
Oh yeah, his dad made him fucking like cut people open at 4.
Yeah.
That's fucked, man. Oh, that's so messed up.
I mean, I'd really say that's the only like negative to the show is you have this 4-year-old cutting Celti open and like basically dissecting her,
yeah,
and then somehow lives with her for the next 20 years.
that's a
And
weird
then
one.
they
isn't
like fall in love. Like, of course, Celti's immortal Doulahan
yeah.
Celtic fairy, but that's the only like weird part of this show, and the only like I would say negative to the show.
Okay, interesting. You think maybe Celti's, the whole mysticism of Celti's background, you maybe find that as a negative, or
No. Her dating the guy who
Thank you.
was
Okay.
cutting her open.
Yeah.
For
because I actually went back and forth on that. The mysticism aspect, the kind of the supernatural aspect. They felt connected only because the narrative was so masterfully pulling things in, but you could probably have could you tear out that mysticism in the show still would have worked? I think so. You probably have some highly trained individual seeking something physical that was stolen from them, and you can rip out the whole Celtic fairy situation, and you probably still have just as good of a show on your hands. Did I say it added a little bit of flavor? Hell yeah, it did. I mean, it was still cool to have that there. But I don't know. I'm trying to decide whether that was unnecessary or not.
I don't think. I mean, unnecessary, yeah, but I think it adds to the show a lot because I think the true like idea of the show is even when you feel like nothing's ever changing, or it's a doldrum days essentially, or
Yeah, right.
or like you're bored out of your mind.
Yeah,
There's just like there's weird things that happen like in the real world, right?
of course. Yeah,
And
yeah.
so it's like, I just like I really view it as saying like don't take those like weird moments for granted. Like,
You can't.
right? And it's just like, of course they're using a very heavy-handed method by saying headless rider,
Yeah, right.
transporter, but she's one of like the stronger characters actually. She's very caring. She like helps everybody in the series essentially.
Yeah, she really is people's guardian angels, like in a lot of cases. And I guess what this trope is something I actually really enjoy, is looking at the philosophies of beings or characters that have outlived human lives, right? She's been alive for hundreds of years. Other characters, they just have a greater sense of wisdom to them, or can have some pretty wild philosophies about humanity and life because they've been around longer than any other human on the planet could amass that level of experience, time, and wisdom. So to write a character in like that, but doing it in this way where you have some extra parameters from being a Celtic fairy kind of thing, I think that was very additive. And for a show about of clashing philosophies like this, throwing one in there that is just so far and beyond seasoned than any other character can possibly hope to be, I think it was pretty cool.
Yeah, so here's a quote from Henri, the one I was talking about, like
Yeah.
nothing ever changing. What do you think a truly unusual life would be like? Something really unique. It'd be the kind of life where every single day, nothing new ever happened, nothing changed. The kind of life is truly unusual.
I like that.
Where like, I mean, she's basically saying there is no such thing as a life that is just the same every single day.
It can't be.
And
Right.
like letting that shit slide by you without noticing is like the true crime, so to speak.
If you feel like every day is the same, then you aren't looking hard enough. Because statistically, it's impossible. Nothing special is happening.
Or
around
I'd go
you.
a step further and say if everything legitimately is the same every day, that's something that's, wrong internally. You should
right.
just do something different one day. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Like, I think it's, especially like for us now, like in COVID world, maybe not particularly us, but people that maybe are still locked down and stuff like that.
Sure.
Like, go take a walk if you don't do that normally.
Or watch some, if it's got to be streaming, watch something you would never fucking put on and see what
Right.
happens, right? Put something new in there, because the people are saying, oh my God, that's like a 1 in a million thing. Run the numbers, guys.
Yeah.
1 in a million things are happening every second all over the planet. Just because it's not yours doesn't mean it can't be. Go make your own 1 in a million thing happen, right? And this is a kind of story about that, right? Is that this isn't really a unique life. This isn't a unique day just because something unique to you is happening, right? That's actually quite normal. A lot of people have that shit every day.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make a quick shout out. Say this, I think, is probably the best dub casting ever.
Okay,
Like,
I didn't
every
watch.
fucking voice is great. They all
Okay.
fit the characters perfect, and of course Johnny Young Bosch is in it. So
And no one told me. I would have watched the dub.
it's Isaiah.
What?
Yeah,
Fucking what?
you definitely know this.
I couldn't have known this.
We've talked about it in the past.
Well, how long do you think shit sits up here, dude?
Apparently not long enough.
Not that long.
It was only episode 13. I mean,
okay.
86 episodes ago.
Yeah, that's on me. You're right. That's a me thing. But yeah, okay. Of our main core cast, I think I know the answer. Who's your favorite character?
So, who do you consider the core cast? Because I love Dodachin's group like a lot.
They're
The guys in the van.
Oh yeah, the Van Gang.
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah, they're funny as shit. They could be core. They could be core. I mean,
Yeah. So like, there's these two like they seem younger, but it's Erika Karizawa and Walker Yuzuma
yes,
are the two like super otaku anime like hentai fans.
yes, they love all that. That's the first thing they say to Makido is like, "Oh, your name literally reminds me of like a manga MC."
Yeah, they're like, Ryugamine? That sounds like a manga MC. And they like just like make fun of them for that essentially, or like say that's so cool, you know. I think, they're obviously dope. And especially like Kyohei,
Yes.
Dodachin, whatever his real last name is. They just called him that so much that's all that's stuck in my head.
Is it Kazuka?
No. It's Dio
Yeah, I don't know.
whatever. Dodachin is what we're gonna call him because everyone else calls him that as like
Doda-chan. Oh, it's Kehoi.
Yeah, Kyohei something.
Kyohei something. Yeah.
But he's just like he's the kind of guy that he's like a strong dude, like a badass kind of guy,
Sure.
but like a good guy. You know?
Oh yeah, he was there. He was doing like basically like a talking head testimonial about his own backstory.
Yeah.
And then Erica comes up like, "Who are you talking to, dude?" And he just blushes like, "Oh, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that." But I guess I was a big Shizu guy. Shizu is basically blonde hair, like can't control his anger. Shizuo.
Ojima.
Yeah, I really liked his story and his arc, man. Like he's just a guy who kind of from a narrative standpoint, he's known as like the toughest guy in the entire area because when he gets mad, he flips the switch, dude. Like he'll break his own body.
Yeah.
But it gives him like basically he unlocks the first gate from Naruto, essentially.
Yeah.
So he pulls limiters off his body because his brain just lets him freak out and tap into that. But he can't control his anger, and he really, really doesn't want to be that guy, but he's so good at being it, he's always enlisted to be the bruiser. So I don't know. I just really enjoyed I always enjoy characters that like don't want to be violent but are just really good at that shit.
Yeah.
And they just kind of can't, or they're forced to resort to it.
They're like typecast into,
Exactly. And every time he had this signature calling card, when he got mad, he would snap his cigarette and stomp it down. But he's been doing that since he was a kid. Lollipop, crack, pencil, crack. And that's how you know he's going to throw some shit. He likes flipping shit. He's really good at flipping shit.
He's known to throw vending machines down city blocks and rip signs out of the ground and use them for weapons.
Yes. I liked him, and I liked Simone.
Simon's sick because he's like this huge like Russian guy.
Yeah. And
right?
family like refugees from America came to Russia.
Yeah.
And then he found his way to Japan. What a wild story. I would like to say
wild ride.
And his Japanese is broken as shit. So like I don't know if they show this in the dub, but in the sub, his Japanese was like simple phrases and he couldn't really like
it was like broken English.
Okay, cool. All right.
It was fairly well done.
Okay.
But he has multiple conversations with Isaiah in fluent Russian.
Yes.
And he's like actually a deep thinker, a smart guy. And man, it's just like every character has such depth, at least the ones that we that get really introduced to. And there's a couple scenes, like we're 30 minutes in, so we can kind of like get into it a little bit
A little bit more
more.
meat, yeah.
Of course, if you're have been thinking of watching this and you haven't yet, make sure you go watch it.
Yeah,
'Cause
this is probably, since 2010, arguably one of the best anime from that decade. In my opinion.
this is in my top 5 all time, probably.
Wow. I would say
And it was
my
before
top
I
10.
rewatched it.
Yeah, it was it's after giving it a rewatch from a critical eye, it's in my top 10 for sure. Where that goes, Lord knows. And my score, I know people are going to freak out when I give the score. I'm going to leave it at that. Okay. So we're getting into it. The one question I kept asking is, why didn't this feel rushed? How did these characters get so much depth when shows that have half that core cast don't even touch that level of like good quality exposition for your characters? I don't know what they were doing right. They just laid out the characters. It only took like a third of an episode per character. You really give them some good depth before they start revealing bigger shit later. But
Yeah, I think, the best part about this show is because it is more slice of life, just like with the supernatural twist, like you can really gain a lot of um like information from that character just by watching them live their lives.
yeah, and the interactions, I think it helped that you had collections of people who knew each other for a long time. So
Right.
there wasn't like when Mikado would basically talk to Anri about something in the park, and then like Kido would be like, I guess I've always liked that aspect about him. And then like, oh, he's been this way for a while.
Right.
And you just to kind of snowball this effect and how people used to be, how they're changing without ever having to do exposition dumps, right? It helps with the cast like, hi, I just met you, so I have to have a story by a fire or something to like even get it.
Yeah.
You have a lot of assumed relationships prior, which helped, I think, the show.
Well, it is the web, right? Like each
right.
of these characters are connected in some way, whether past, present, or potentially future in a lot of cases, right?
Oh yeah.
And so, I mean, that's like the trick to the show, and why I think it didn't feel rushed is because there is that person pulling the strings in the background that we know about, like midway through at least.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we know that this isn't all just like, what you would consider kismet, just like random happenstance.
Exactly. And part of it too is that they gave this world as big as it, basically the backdrop of this world was so lived in. You, in the first couple episodes, you knew of the urban legends in town. You knew of the color gang shit in town.
Gang.
And you knew about up and comers, message boards, like just little things dropped here and there. And then boom, you now just gave this web a reason why, if they aren't connected from day one, that they can meet up anywhere in the middle, right? Supernatural or not. Color gang, oh, you are leading this gang?
Right.
Fuck. Oh, wait, you are the one that used to know this supernatural entity, but then you got involved in this gang? They can now play with who's doing what at any given time. So I wonder if the mangaka or the guy who wrote it initially, did he have all that planned out, or did he just give himself enough to work with, and then he's just like, because there's 13 volumes of this.
Yeah, he probably planned it out because Baccano is a similar like kind of mind teaser type show. Same guy that did that, right? And I just wanted to ask, what do you think of the like chat room aspect? Because that plays a massive role.
It was, because it didn't just it became a huge narrative piece towards the end, but it was a great way for you to just have this information conversationally disseminated to you, right? You learn about everything almost from the first like 6 episodes with the interactions in that chat room, and it felt casual and natural. Like, hey, did you see like this thing happen today on the street? Oh no, I was actually somewhere else, but I heard about that.
Well, I think that's where some of the exposition came in without like beating your head over with it. Is like you're getting each character's thoughts on the situation without having to go to them and say, what do you think about this? Right?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you in a flashback right now. Yeah, cue transition. Yeah.
So, it was just like, so like meticulously well done, I think, Of course, somebody's going to hate our review of this, but.
No, and here's the thing, right, is that I don't give a fuck about reviews anymore, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's all subjective. It's all subjective. We try to be as objective, but we're still the human beings watching it. Like,
right.
And there are people out there that have valid arguments about why this show probably sucks absolute dick. Like,
and I'd love to talk to them.
Yeah, I love to have some choice words.
Wild.
Yeah, some choice words.
Come talk to you.
Yeah. Come on through. We'll see what happens. But I once I started seeing the way that the second half was going, I was worried. I was worried that we were about to get a bunch of things that felt convoluted, did not feel, earned, but I don't know. There may have been one that I felt was a little off. And that was, are we trying to be cool with spoilers right now?
I mean, we're 36 minutes in. It's almost a 10, 11-year-old show.
Okay. You give it, that's enough credence for me. The whole Henri shit and her involvement in the supernatural.
Yeah.
I felt that was a little out of nowhere. Unless there's something I missed earlier in the show. I knew the shit about her parents. It was fairly obvious that some shit happened. But I don't know if there's any, where did that come from? Like, I just didn't know if they set that up at all, or.
So I think it was, and the reason I say that is Shinra's dad was the original owner of Saika.
Yes.
So he had the real sword.
Okay.
He, for some reason, offloaded it to her father. That's the only part that we don't know.
So it got into her possession.
Her dad was an antique dealer.
Okay.
It wasn't going well. Like, so he's beating the shit out of his kid and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Her mom grabs Saika.
Yeah.
To kill him with it. But of course, it's a cursed blade.
So what are you going to do with that?
So it takes over her mind. She kills him, kills herself, and then the sword's just there.
And it's left with her.
But of course, Henri's been closed off for the last, however long of her life.
Sure.
Like, and they did a great job showing like the vignette closing in and showing the like closing yourself off to the world. And
so she must have been susceptible to that, to the influences of that cursed blade. I mean,
well, she was not susceptible because she has no like feelings on anything. Remember, she's saying,
"Oh, that's fucking right."
She's saying, "I have no feelings." Right. So listening to the blade talk to me constantly doesn't bother me because I don't feel anything.
Right, and and it was kind of just sad, inadvertent result, right? Of she just shut down in her own mind. It wasn't as a response to the sword.
Right.
It was just she was already there, and it was just. For the sword that sucked because like fuck the person I'm closest to it's just not gonna work, right?
Right.
So maybe I almost thought that the dad was influenced by the sword, but those two events were different. He was already being a shithead.
No, he was just a dickhead because his business was bad.
Gotcha. Bona fide, homegrown, natural dickbag.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No cursed artificial flavoring added.
No curses necessary for him.
Yeah. Organic dickbag.
Yeah.
Okay. They set it up. Yeah, and I think that's part of it. Maybe a downfall.
But it wouldn't have been as fun if she wasn't the,
Yeah.
To make the three gangs be like friends and like holding these massive secrets from each other.
Yes.
Like that's the show, right?
Yeah.
Like understanding
the
that
war and the Isaiah's like
playing these freaking
fucking just played it. I'm gonna ignore these.
Using chess pieces, shoji pieces, and like little tokens.
Pieces,
it's like, what is this guy doing?
He's literally playing in a different dimension than everybody else. And she's like, what is like Naomi basically walks in and be like, what are the rules of this game?
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't even worry about it.
There aren't rules.
There aren't rules. You wouldn't even fucking understand it if I told you. But yeah, like he was tactfully ignoring calls because he knew like, nope, not time yet.
Yeah.
Just like he literally everything. He is true galaxy brain.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
he's example of galaxy brain. He's
right,
he's an info. He fights with information. That's what he does.
And
he's also a really good fighter too. Like,
yeah, he's a supernatural in his own right.
Yeah.
Which of course is just weird, but it's like a question of he's just like running experiments on people, right? Like originally with that girl who kills her or is about to kill herself because he like basically says, he's like. Basically catfishes her online.
Yeah.
And basically says like, oh, we should just, get back at our parents and kill ourselves and all this stuff, right?
He really spoke right to her, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He because he's a master manipulator, of course,
Yeah.
but he just like speaks directly to her, and it's like, that'll show him, that'll teach him like to mess with us kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Which is like, plays her like a fiddle, but that's just like such a human emotion I think people have, right? And I think it's got to be, like the same type of thing that happens all the time.
Exactly.
And then our supernatural aspect comes in to save her from that situation. And then she comes back and she's like, you know what? Everyone has secrets.
Yeah.
And that's what's beautiful about the show and like just genius is they start us off with that. That's like episode 2, talking about everyone's secrets.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out our main characters have ridiculous secrets.
They all have crazy secrets, and
them holding them from each other is the reason that it all spins insanely out of control.
Like how close everyone played everything to the chest,
right?
Because they're all playing the same game. They're just all involved in their own shit, and I don't know. I liked Isaiah's introduction because that really put. I don't know if he felt like an analog for the audience in a small way, because Isaiah definitely had secrets, but he also he knew about as much as we did. He just played the information better. We knew what he knew, but he just played everything better. I don't know, because he had that girl kidnapped. He had that girl saved. He had that girl brought to him. He's like, you said you wanted to die, but then hesitated when you were gonna die, but then accepted your fate, and now you're here, not wanting to die. It's all an experiment. It's all a game to him. And I can't tell if he elevated himself outside of everything while still being involved. That was part of it. Everyone seemed to have a secret. What was his?
I don't know. I view him as like Laurent in a lot of ways. He's the, master manipulator, con man.
Yeah.
Gets everyone to do exactly what they want at what he wants, like 50 steps ahead of time, like super intricate plans.
Great. Yeah.
I think he was involved in the story, and that's the only reason that like when he says like, oh, I love when they just do something that I'd never expect, right? Like Simon came out of nowhere and knocked his shit out. He's just like, fuck, that was sick.
Yeah, and I think that was why I think I consider him in my own brain different than everyone else, where he's like, I am excited. He's breaking the fourth wall, I think, a little bit there. He's kind of meta commentating, like, before it all happens, I love when people do things that I do not expect.
Yeah.
That is the mantra of the show. Like, because everything's going to happen in a way that the audience doesn't expect it. Even if you're paying attention, listening to Isaiah tell you there's shit that's going to excite you if you are kind of like resonating with what I'm saying right now. So again, he's not an analog for the audience per se, but he is meta commentating in a sort of way of this story, both for its future and its present. So I maybe wouldn't personally lump him in with our core cast, even though he's a big player. He just seems outside.
Makes literally everything happen.
I know he does.
It's hard to like not put him there. I would say, what's cool about him is he's like set the stage for whatever happens.
Yeah.
But he's made it like very high pressure, right? And
sure.
He just like kept trying to get everyone like more and more pissed off to the point where something would break and he'd get to like enjoy whatever happens. Like,
yeah.
He had it tidily in a very chaotic scenario.
Exactly. Yes.
Just bloody beautiful.
Just bloody beautiful. Some other character stuff. Senji's sister definitely had like a weird brother complex, right?
I really don't know what's going on with Sheiji and Naomi or whatever her name is.
Naomi or something like that.
Yeah. Honestly, two of the worst characters in the show.
Thank you for agreeing with that.
Especially Seiji, like he falls in love with the head essentially.
Yeah. And then
I don't know, like I wasn't a fan of his character whatsoever.
Because he didn't really make a lot of like.
Wasn't even a fan of Mika Harima or whatever her name was either.
She was the catalyst for a lot of stuff in the early game.
Yeah.
Her missing is what got people kind of scheming. But I guess that's kind of the fault of the writer's sake, because if you're gonna have literally a void of a character we have yet to meet be so important, but her absence doesn't let us get all the other shit
Yeah.
for all the other characters, right? We don't have anything.
It's
But
true.
when everyone finds her as important as we find everyone else, it doesn't feel, the audience has no link to her outside of the characters that give a shit, right? And then you're like, wait, she was important enough that someone had wanted to kill her, and then like she's a centerpiece to a lot of shit where I didn't give a shit about her.
Yeah.
Right?
Not at all.
So maybe one gripe, but you know, in a show this numerous in both plot lines, characters, events, you're gonna have a slip up here or there. What are you gonna do, right? And it's I'm nitpicking even at that point.
Yeah, I think, at least from what I remember, Namie or whatever plays a much larger role in X2.
Okay.
As Isaiah's assistant, she does a lot more stuff.
Yeah, because she moved up in different position in the second half of this season, right?
Well, so I don't remember why this happened, but her business got, blown up essentially, and she was taken out of Yagiri Pharmaceutical or whatever.
Yeah.
And so she was like out of work, and like essentially after that the first dollars meeting, she was basically just like screwed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
she's fucked.
Like felt like there was a hit out on her because she thought dollars were gonna kill her or something like that, and so she bails to go to Isaiah and work as his personal assistant essentially.
I wonder if we can trace. There's probably a big brain play Isaiah did to make her find her way to working for him, because they already had a connection prior, and I think he saw potential in her being close.
No. He just wanted the head.
That's true. Then that's the reason, right?
Yeah.
That's right. I thought there was something more. If she's bigger in X2, I assume there's something more. But if it's just the head, it's just the head, right?
I mean, I'm not gonna spoil X2, but
okay. I have not seen
it's
X2.
Very important.
Okay.
So anyway, what I loved, I just wanted to mention this since you just brought it up.
Sure.
That first dollars meeting.
Oh my God, that was tense as fuck.
You see this entire like plaza square, and we only see a couple faces.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the place is just all the other people are like shadows, faceless entities.
They do a good job
paths.
Visually. Everyone else that's not important's gray.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when there's this message that goes out from Mikado, all the color comes back to the world. You see everyone's face, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
This transparent gang isn't so transparent.
Exactly. And they do such a good job with that, because you think it's kind of an aesthetic choice to make the people who are important in a crowd stand out by making everyone those kind of like monochrome figures. But they took it a step further. By the second the message goes out, they all become important, so they're all are no longer gray.
And it's almost like they thought, all these random people are the other, like they're not involved in the situation.
Sure, right.
Like Namie and her people. And then, flip the switch. Just kidding. You're the other. That's why y'all are highlighted, because we're all going to be looking directly at you.
There are scenes in other works of fiction that do this. So John Wick's a good example, when basically everyone in the city wants to kill him when the hit's out. Nowhere feels safe. I got a glimmer of that in that dollars meeting.
Right.
Because you suddenly went from in control to, oh shit, in like the send of a message.
Yeah.
And man, Mikado, that one threw me for a fucking loop, man. I didn't remember that detail. I was like, I forgot this happened entirely, that he was heading all this shit up. So,
well, I think it was a great move, because it shows, like, I think what happens in real life quite honestly a lot is like people get bored, and then they just like create things, or they'll just like,
right.
I think it's like a easy parallel to like idle minds of humanity, right?
Oh yeah.
Because they showed Masaomi left, and then he gets a computer and he's like, screw it, let's just make this little group. And then the group grows and grows and grows. And I think it's just, it was like, it's hard to really like put into words what it like.
The phenomenon of just kind of organic growth of a thing.
Exactly.
Organic growth of a thing that
originally.
Yes.
And then fucking Isaiah gets a hold of it and he goes ham.
He goes ham on it. So I mean, it is something that you know, when the snowball effect happens and you only started something for shits and giggles and then something turns into this actual phenomena that now seems almost bigger than you, right? That is a very human event, right? That's what meme is. It's a social movement in any form, be it picture, be it video, be it, you know, lyrics or whatever.
A meme.
A meme. Fucking planking was a meme. And that was an action, a dumb one.
Owling.
But, yeah, owling, perching on random shit.
Me and Cole did like an entire night of random planking on random shit in his neighborhood when it was
As you do.
built.
As you do. Yeah, that's what you do.
Planking on bushes.
Yeah.
Planking on heavy machinery.
But no one can. I know you could if you did a little internet research, but it's really hard at that point to where was the first plank, right?
Yeah.
Because it grew bigger than just that first thing. This is the dollars
like
is that
ice bucket challenge too. Like who did the first one? Who freaking knows?
right? But everyone was doing it, and that was kind of that's
Harlem
what
Shake. That was one that was wild.
Harlem Shake was. I liked it. I liked it a lot. There's some really good ones out there. I like it.
Pew 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 pew.
So organic growth amongst human, collectives of people is what can turn some kid with a computer into someone who can send a message and just cause chaos.
Right.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite kind of switch 'em up twist because it makes perfect sense. And it's 4 years of time. I mean, shit. After he moves away, like I'm gonna do it.
I think there's that, but I think it also like kind of shows us like the interconnectedness of humanity as information technology has really grown, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like he can there was the scenes near the end where they were looking for Henri and he basically had like 1,000 people looking out for her and helping like get her away from the yellow scarves. And it's just like, shit like that would not be possible even, I guess at this point it was 2010, 20 years prior to that.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have texting, you don't have, chat rooms on phones and
exactly. And this is another big thing about the show that I love, the theme of the power of information. Like we were just saying, but this is a show that I want to tell some of our more verbal fans that we do get to interact with in our Discord, which you can join for $1 and up on our Patreon, by the way. What you can do with a story when you don't have everything on screen. There are people that we have talked to that because it wasn't on screen, it didn't exist as far as I'm concerned. This show is that. It's the stuff that isn't on screen and happening behind the scenes is what's as important, if not more important than what you're seeing visually. So some people probably will think that Durarara is a cheaply told story because things feel convolutedly added or switcherooed or stuff like that. But if you're watching, it is all there in front of you, just not visually, right? But it's all there.
Well, sometimes it is visually there. It's just hard to see. You have to be like fully engaged.
Yeah.
Like I noticed Dodochin was at that final meeting with the yellow scarves.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't have noticed it if I didn't have a second. I don't think I noticed it the first time for sure.
I don't think I did either.
Yeah.
But I did notice him, and I'm like, aha. So one of these crazy motherfuckers.
What are you doing here? Yeah, I really enjoyed. I got a little bit lost here and there because those are the ones I watched on the plane when we're in the thick of like the gang war near the end. I was definitely like the guy next to me. I was just kind of like putting my phone down. I was hoping he
like an old guy.
He was probably right around the age where if he had kids, he might have seen them watching anime. So he might know what it is, but definitely old enough to like, what the fuck is this kid watching over here?
Like upper 50s?
Sure. Like dad's age. Okay. How's that? Yeah. So what's this newfangled show you're watching? Well, there's just like people getting fucking sliced and diced like, sorry, dude. You want to watch Falcon Winter Soldier with me? I can put on the subtitles for that, sir. Yeah, drinks, please. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, just keep them coming, actually.
Just keep it rolling.
This just get awkward.
Okay. I know we said ratings are bullshit. Any last words before we give the numbers?
I don't know. There's some like fun little trivia stuff in there, right?
What you got?
Like the the password to the Dollars website is Bakano.
Yes,
which
and
is his previous work.
And all the movie posters that one scene where they showed Kasuka, what do they call him, like Yai or something, like his stage name? The actor. Yeah.
Heiwajima's little brother. I don't know.
Heiwajima's little brother. Yeah, I think his real name was Kasuka, but Bakugo or Bakano. Wow. I was thinking Bungo Stray Dogs. Don't at me right now. I'm chilling. They were all works by Brainspace.
Really?
Where all the posters were works, except for his narratively in the show.
Okay.
But the rest of them were, yeah. I noticed Bakugo and a couple others that are in the Brainspace works list. Yeah.
Huh.
So there's, again, it's kind of like a more wholesome version of what God of High School had with Webtoons and Crunchyroll, like advertised on the bottom.
I was gonna say Durarara. Remember, there was a couple shops called Mappa something.
Oh yeah, that's yeah, and on
like
all the
quick little like nods, the little homages.
In Great Pretender, all of the manholes had Mappa on it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if you're a studio and you're out here just banging out bangers, like
queen.
Yes, slay a little, give yourself some credit. Put your poster on the movie boards, whatever.
I just love those little homages themselves.
And as you should. I mean, there are definitely anime that will stick other characters in their own shows as kind of like an homage. Just like, if you're gonna make background characters anyway, like put some sneaky shit in there. Why not?
Goku in there. Why not?
Yeah, why not? I like that
It'd
one.
be hilarious for like Luffy to just walk by and you're like, what the fuck?
What the fuck, dude? Oh man, I kind of wish I'd see that though. Like just
like some random dude in a straw hat, and you're like,
or no, there's just a bunch of businessmen, black suit, black ties, then an orange gi and spiky hair. Okay, he's just going to work. So
I guess he's got Saiyan armor on now. Freaking just guy in a blue freaking jumpsuit.
But yeah, the show applauds the attentive viewer. You will still have a good time if you're not the most attentive viewer. Like, I know some people like to do things in the middle of watching, but if you got some time and you really want to watch the anime that's going to give you the old thinkies, give you the old wrinkles, give this one a try.
Rating time.
Oh, God.
Okay, so I'm doing 2 systems from now on because, we get so much
I think you and I, our heads are in the same spot. Well,
I don't know.
Well,
mine is wild.
Mine, maybe I have to give that one score, but allow myself to say how much subjectivity went into it.
I'm doing 3 systems right now.
What the fuck?
Okay, my first system is for Bob, man. It is a 1 out of 10 terrible show. You'll hate it. Number 2 is my mouse score, which is 10 out of 10. Masterpiece. And then my Weebology score is a 99.
Whoa! You're gonna give this one a 99.
A 99. I legitimately,
you did say this is a top 5 for you, so okay.
There's almost 0 negatives to the show. I think the ambiance is unbelievable. Probably the best out of any show. The soundtrack, unbelievable. The dub casting, the best ever. The story, super fun, super interesting, very engaging. And then I loved all the characters.
Yeah, honestly.
Except for Seiji and Naomi. I mean, that's really it.
Yeah, and maybe Mika, just because there's no on-screen time for that. Right.
Well, she also just doesn't exist.
She doesn't really exist. So, I'm predicating this one. I gave Jobless a 90, I think, 1. That was completely influenced by my own hype and an isekai cuckboy. That is a score that is dripping in subjectivity, and I couldn't remove my own hype from that. Okay. This is a 93 subjective.
Oh
flat.
My God.
Flat.
I love it.
If I were to add any of my flavoring onto this, it would put it maybe down like a 91. It wasn't necessarily my genre forte. It's not like what I would go for if someone were to tell it. I just had this show and I've watched it before, so I kind of knew. But objectively, 93. This show is amazing. There is no way around it. You will feel things. It'll make the jaw drop. It's got fantastic animation when it has to. And yeah, again, from a character standpoint, it is mind-blowing that they can have so many, and the percentage of likable or better is absurdly high.
Right.
So like I said,
Best part, it's on Netflix.
It's
This
on
is so
Netflix.
so accessible.
Yes, and Hulu, and like I literally just like typed it in my apps, and I just happened to hit Hulu first. It's on Hulu.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how I watched it. But yeah, so
I got my friend who like barely watches anime to watch the show, and he also thinks it's a fucking masterpiece. So that should tell you something. It's good for all ages.
It really is. I mean, there's some titty. There's some titty there somewhere. I think
I didn't mean all ages. I meant all types of all walks of life.
All walks of life. It's one of those. But yeah, I know people. The astute listener would have been like, "Hey, wait a minute! You gave Jobless a score that was super close to Durarara." I understand. I stand for that show and I will die on that hill. But I recognize that score was just covered in subjectivity. There will be shows that I'll rank super high, like, yep, because I like it. I know this is probably a 75.
That's exactly the point of these rankings.
That's what these rankings are for. It's our ranking. But I think objectively, 93. Like, just...
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to hear what everyone's got to say, because I'm sure there's going to be some negatives, and
But we're always here for the negatives.
Yeah, of course. I want to hear what you think, but I'm just like, I genuinely, like, I'm very critical of shows, like, even shows I love, I'll, like, talk about some negatives, but there just really aren't any here for me. So I want to know what could be holding people's scores back from that perfect 10 out of 10 on Mal.
Yeah, and on Mal, right?
And I think Mal's scoring system is just a joke.
It's an absolute joke. But that being said, it's in the 8 club. It's like an 8-2. So that's again, that's pretty damn good for Mal. So
I think that's close to, like, brotherhood.
Yeah, no, it's up there, man. But yeah, let us know. We do love to hear kind of dissenting or conflicting arguments with like our conclusions we have on the show. If you come with a case, I'll probably see your logic, unless it's way out there. Like, and I love discussing that stuff with
your logic.
Yeah, of course, but that's the whole point. We'll have a talk because we're all academic boys and gals at the end of the day, fam. That's what we do. We break it down. We break it down and we reconstruct it, analyze it, optimize, synergize. Butterflies. I don't know.
Did this just become a morning stand-up?
Yes, it has. It totally has. But you know what? Thanks y'all for coming to this class about high fucking art. If you would like to watch with your eyes and your ears, come on over to YouTube. Last week I was swamped. I'm gonna get both the videos from last week and this one out very soon. Want to listen with your ears and not your eyes? Go to Apple or Spotify or anything in between. Leave us a 5-star review, and a written one on Apple helps us pop up on everyone else's anime stuff, and give us a like, comment, and maybe a subscription on the YouTubes.
We have an insanely special episode next week for our 100th episode.
We do, and
special guest.
I didn't even put the 100th and the special guest together, but that is so hype.
I know.
Oh, this guest is going to be a good one. The topic's going to be even better. I'm really excited.
A topic near and dear to my heart.
Yes, and a topic that has Ethan literally frothing at the mouth to talk about. He is so ready. All the other links, I gotta shrink these down a little bit so you guys aren't just sitting through a bunch of fucking plugs at the end. But Instagram, @weebologypodcast, memes on memes and news, and sometimes giveaways. Email, weebologypodcast@gmail.com.
You know, I just realized we could just say check the description. It's in every description.
It is in every description.
All right. This is great,
I think
guys.
From 100 onward, we're slimming down. We're slimming down the plugs.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. So this could be the last big plug section would do. But yeah.
I literally just realized.
Yeah, it took us 100 episodes to figure that one out, but Here we are. But yeah, and Twitter, @weebologyp, we post there sometimes. If you want to give us some monetary love, only if you can, patreon.com/weebology. Yes, I think I need to sit down and just fucking do the website. That's on me, dude. I'm slacking.
I genuinely don't think it'll take you very long.
No, it won't. I just haven't sat down and done it. Like, I did a little bit of it, but not a lot of it.
We are paying for it currently, so.
We are paying for the domain.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but we did get weebology.com. Bagged it, tagged it, it's ours.
Ripped it.
Ripped it.
Ripped it and shipped it, boys.
But we will get that out soon. $1 and up gets you into our Discord with all of our past guests and the current Patreon folk. And 3 and up gets you the syllabus sidebar, our lo-fi, high vibe, sometimes anime, sometimes not, podcast where we just rip shit and just talk about whatever. Yeah.
We riff it.
We riff it. Yeah, I think next one, if we do it, we should do some more prices wrong.
Wrong, bitch.
Yeah, prices wrong. But until we go guessing random ass prices on random ass internet shit, I'm Ricky.
And I'm Ethan.
And this has been Weebology.
Deuces.
I didn't realize that the 100th, that's going to be so many things lined up.
Fire.
Absolutely.